Okay, so hello folks, and I hope that we're streaming already and that you can hear me. And I hope you're having a really great day. And I'm really excited today because I'm going to get to finish my solo Star Trek Into the Nebula season 1, or session 1 rather. This will be session 2. So let me just show you a few things here. So hopefully you can see these. Here's my character sheet. And what you'll see here is I may have 4 characters. So I have Pharaoh, who's an Edosian engineer. He's the red fellow here. And I have our Vulcan science officer, Pellic, the blue character. And our our command officer is Commander Craig, is the yellow. And our doctor is Dr. Heath, and he's in the green. Now, I know the doctors on TV had the blue, but green is, I have to differentiate him from science. So this is a D20 roll under system. And last time I had a lot of trouble because I kept knocking over my little guys here. They're just so much fun, but I kept knocking them over. So I have a dice tower here, and hopefully you can see that. You'll be able to see the dice rolls too, I hope. I tried to get my camera angle such that that's the case. So let me give you a little recap, and we're definitely going to finish the adventure here today, I think. So last time they entered this nebula, and the Rydini Nebula, and it's the last known location of Dr. Sonak, who was head of a very small science vessel, the Meitner. It was a largely unexplored area as it's near the Romulan border. And Sonak had some connection to Pellic because he was Pellic's mentor. So there's a little bit of an emotional connection, I guess as much as a Vulcan can have there. And on the way to the planet, the starship, and I have a starship here to show you. It's very simple, but I think it works well for this sort of thing. So it's the USS Freedom, and all this takes place during the movie era of Star Trek. Now, the Kirk movie era, when they had the really cool maroon jackets and stuff and all. And so there were these energy tendrils that seemed to be maybe even being controlled by from the planet somewhere that attacked the ship. And they actually did some damage to the ship, and we didn't have a chance to repair that because our engineer had to come down. He had to put his other people on that. Now, on the planet, they were attacked by these creatures, and the doctor noticed that they seemed to resemble bacteriophages, in a cell, and that's what was going on there. So they were being attacked. Now, they did find the Meitner. The Meitner had crashed, and we're not really able to get as much information as we hoped from the Meitner. And so they made their way, and ahead of them was a dome, almost a geodesic dome, although it seemed more maybe like a a beehive or a honeycomb, you can imagine. It seemed more organic, and they have not entered that yet. So they're approaching, and let's see how we're going to do this. So maybe somebody's going to sneak ahead. Let's see who has maybe really good fitness, might be good at sneaking ahead. Well, our command officer, I think Commander Craig, that she'll take the lead here. And she says, I'm going to sneak ahead and see what I can see. So let's roll a D20, and her fitness is 10. So basically she has a 50% chance. So we need a 10 or lower. Let's see. Does she get it? 7. Very nice. So she scouts ahead, and there's some vegetation. It's very mossy here. There's not a lot of traditional trees, but she's able to sneak up and see that there are 2 more of these bacteriophage creatures guarding here. And you can see I'm just using cardboard chits here for to represent them. And that'll work out well because then I can write their damage right there on the chit there. And so she goes back and she confers with the rest of the team, and she says, how do we want to do this? Because I was able to sneak up and see them. We might be able to get surprise on them. And overtake them, which would help for getting in. She said, let's set our phasers to stun because we don't want to kill them necessarily. We don't know if they're intelligent or not. And let's see how that goes. So they're going to try to sneak up. So that means, and let's see what our fitnesses are. Most people have a 10, except Pellic has an 8. So if 2 or more succeed, they're going to be able to sneak up here. And let's see what's going to happen. So let's roll them dice. I love the different colored dice because that way I can just do all the rolls at once and see. So let's see. Let's see. No. 3 failures. No. They try to sneak up, but these things, maybe they can sense through the moss. You know, they can sense the vibrations. So Craig does tell them to spread out. So they are not able to get a surprise round here. But let's roll and see if who goes first. And so that's going to be a D6. And the way I work it is 1, 2, 3, the player characters go first. And let's see what's happening here. I got a 2. I don't know if you can see that, but I got a 2. So that means our PCs are going first. And let's see how we're going to do. I dropped one of my dice here. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you go live. You can't edit it. But we'll have this. So they're all going to go, and they're going to try to fire and stun these creatures. And they kind of remember that these creatures were able to stun them before. So let's see who hits. So let's see. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but everybody hit. All 4 of them hit. So I'm going to say, 2 and 2, they'll spread it out there. And this is, they're aimed for stun. So I have to roll to see whether these creatures get stunned. These creatures just have a 12. So let's roll a couple of dice here and see if they get stunned. One does. The one up here is stunned. So we'll flip him over out of the way. The other one is not, but I'm going to put a little S there because if he gets hit again, he will definitely get stunned. You can't take 2 stun blasts. So this one comes over here, and he is going to try and make a couple of attacks, I think, on Pellic and our and our engineer on Pharo. And what's nice about this, I can just roll them both at once and see if either of them are hit. Yes, Pharo gets hit, and that's a stun roll. So let's see if Pharo gets stunned. Yes, he does. Here's what's nice about these little peoples. I can just put him down. Now, he is not dead, but he is stunned. And Pellic says, they've gotten Pharo. He says it loudly, but without emotion. So the other 3 now, it's their turn, and they are going to turn their stuns on the phage, and they should get it. Yeah, in fact, all 3 hit, so there's just no way they're not going to be able to stun this. So the doctor comes over, and he has to... Now, Pharo hasn't taken any damage, but let's do a medical roll here and see if he can get him up or not. Yeah, 5. That's plenty below his medical skill of 14. So he revives Pharo, who's rather groggy. Oh, thank you, doctor. Oh, I don't know what happened. And the commander says, we must be careful going in. So they go inside this building. Now, the building, it's not really a building. It's some kind of structure. As I said, it looks almost like a honeycomb or something natural. And I have this glass bead. I don't even know where I got these. In the middle here. They do enter with their phasers out. And then what they see is suspended from the wall. Where can I put that so you can see it? Is a Vulcan scientist and other members of his crew. I'm not going to put them all out. And in the center here, kind of pulsing and glowing, is kind of like a dome. If you think about the dome from the Gamesters of Triskelion, if you've seen that Star Trek episode. If not, just think about a glass dome. But inside is long strands of kind of organic material. And the doctor says, it's like a cell nucleus, he says. I've never seen anything like this. And the thing pulses, and they all hear, I am the living one. Why have you killed my guards? And the commander says, we didn't kill them. We just stunned them to protect ourselves. And we've come to get our people back. Why are you holding them? And Dr. Sonak and the others, it's like they're suspended on the wall, and there's these like biofilaments, holding them up, and they seem to be stunned. The doctor's going to make a medical roll here. Yeah, and he can see even from where he is. He says they are breathing. Maybe he gets his tricorder out. He says, but they're in some kind of hibernation or stunned state. And Peleg says, why have you kidnapped them? Why are you holding them? And again, this center thing pulses and says something, to the effect, your kind trying to control me, trying to harness my power. And the commander says, well, what do you mean, our kind? We've never been here before. He says, there's a foreign cell in the next valley with your kind. They look just like your captives. And Peleg says, kind of whispers to the commander, perhaps Romulans? And she begins to negotiate here. She says, well, if we can help neutralize, if we can get rid of these foreigners, this foreign cell, would you release our people? And the thing in the center seems to think about that. And he says, yes, I have no need for them. I need you all gone. I am the living one. And the doctor is curious about all this. He says, well, you seem to be a big cell. What's going on here? And the thing in the center says, I am the planet. And let me make a science roll here for Peleg. No, he's not sure about that. He says, Commander, I'd have to do more scanning. He said, it is possible that this whole planet is alive in a way we've never seen before. Let's see. The doctor's going to do another scan on the prisoners. Oh, he fails. And he just says, I'm not sure how much longer they have. I really can't get this information in here. He says, I think we'd best hurry. I don't think we should mess around here too much. We really need to get over and see what's going on. So the commander says, please don't harm them before we come back. And the thing in the middle cell says, you must hurry. They are not well. I cannot guarantee their safety. So they hustle out of here. Put them over here to the side, and I'll just take all this down for now. And they begin their march over to the next valley. Now, luckily, they're not attacked by any more of the phages or other cell creatures, perhaps that they could be. So, luckily, that's not the case right now. Well, I'm about 13 minutes into things. That's surprising. It's very quiet in my house right now, so this seemed like a great time to do this because I really wanted to wrap up this adventure and myself to have a little bit of fun here before the end of the weekend. So they make their way over, and again, we're going to try sneaking here. Let's see if they can all sneak. No. Again, the numbers are too high. They don't like these group rolls. So they're definitely not going to get any kind of initiative or anything here. Now, they did beam down to the planet, so they probably weren't detected, like if they had brought down a shuttlecraft. And up ahead is a structure. We'll make it a little bit more square-like here. And there are 2 Romulan guards outside, and they do not know how many are inside. And it looks like my logo there is kind of hiding things. So let me move things over. I may need to make that logo smaller. Now they failed their sneaking roll. So they're trying to come up the hill here. They're trying to, be very stealthy, and they're not. They just aren't, and the Romulan guards see them, and they also don't know if there's any more inside. And hint, hint, there might be. So they come on these Romulan guards, and we are definitely going to need to roll for initiative here because there's no possibility of a surprise. And the commander, of course, says, weapons on stun, please. Weapons on stun. A 4. No, that's not a good roll for our PCs here. So these Romulans are going to fire, and they holler inside for reinforcements. Now, the reinforcements can't come out this round. And let's see, a 2 and a 15, so that 2 is going to hit. And 1, 2, 3, it hits our doctor. It hits our doctor for 4 points of damage. So I've got to make a note of that. And while I'm doing that, I'll just tell you these tiles here are, I bought them for like $3 at Ollie's. They're D&D tiles. But I think it works nicely for a planet surface. It kind of gives us a little grass here. So that's what's going on here for the Romulans, but they've called for reinforcements. So our folks, reluctantly, they've got to do the shootout here. Craig does holler, give up so we don't have to have a firefight here. But they just seem to be ignoring the whole deal here. So what's great is I can roll all 4 at once. And let's see who hits. Everybody hits but Pellic. He's a bad shot. So I'm going to have these Romulans roll for, whether they're stunned or not. 9 and 15. So one is down. The other one is not, but he was not, one more stun will be a problem for him. Maybe I will put a little paper circle or something underneath him. Do I have one handy? Because I don't want to fool around with things. Just to remind myself that he's stunned. So it can be a little, or it could be stunned next. That can be a little condition marker. But the other 2 Romulans come out here. And the one inside, you hear a voice from inside, buy some time, buy some time. And they are going to fire. So let's have our 3 Romulans fire. We'll do red, yellow, and green. We'll just go across. Yeah, they all hit. And let's see who the first one hits. So the first one hits our commander for 12 points of damage. Ooh, that's going to hurt. That takes her down to 8. So that's pretty bad. The second one hit. And I just got, so it's 5 points of damage. I should have a D4 handy, but I don't. And that hits Pellic for 3 points of damage. I'm just keeping track over here. And then the third one hits. 1, 2, 3 hits our doctor. 0 for 10. You don't want to be getting into a phaser fight. That's a problem. All right. So again, they're trying to spread out. There's not a lot of cover here. And she says, we have to stun them. Come on. We've got to get it this round. Maybe she doesn't say round, but this time. Oh, very nice. And I just have to check everybody's combat rating. Oh, even the doctor made it, because the doctor only has an 8, and he did get an 8. So they all make it. So this one is stunned, and I've got to roll for the other 2. I figure their fitness is probably a 12. Oh, they both made it. They both made it, but, they're dazed a little bit, and next round could do it for them. And these are just little things with a 1-inch hole punch, but boy, they work well for this. And they call, Commander, we need you. And he says, I've set it to overload. So he comes out, and let's see the roll here. I think we're going to do one more roll for them shooting. And let's see who they hit, if anybody. 2 of them hit. And let's see who they hit. Okay, so that's 6 points of damage. Oops. Again, I should have a D4. Sorry about that, folks. I keep rolling a 5. Do you notice that was, I think, 3 or 4 5s in a row? Maybe this dice is not well balanced. It was 3 points of damage and 4. Okay, so that's Tharo. He's going to take that 3 points of damage. Now, he's still up and moving, so he's in pretty good shape. And then I think there was one more shot I did not take care of here. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, I like this dice tower. It's working out great for something like this. 3 is our doctor. Uh-oh, I think that's going to put our doctor down. Now, because he is at 0 hit points, he's got to make a fitness check here. His fitness is 10. 5. So he is out, but he is not dying, which I think is pretty good. I hope that's pretty good. And the Romulans decide at this point, you see the main Romulan, he's at his communicator, and he says something, in the Romulan language. I wonder if there's a name for the Romulan language. Doesn't matter. So he says something in the Romulan language, and they immediately beam up. They are not fighting to the death here. They immediately beam up, but there's some pulsing inside there. And the commander says, I think they've done something. They must have a device in there. She said, I'll tend to the doctor. Go on in. So let's have her tend to the doctor. So she gets out the medikit, and let's see if she can revive him. Now, she's a commander. Her medicine is only 8, but she gets 2 advantage rolls per day. And that's something that I often forget, to use the advantage rolls, especially for humans. So she's using it right now. So she's going to try and use the med kit to try and revive him. And a 20 and a 12. So even with advantage, she's not able to do that. He's going to have to be taken to sick bay really soon. So she's going to call and beam him up to sick bay. And I think we're going to take our doctor out of the picture here. I'm sorry if they were off screen. Like I said, I need to make that logo a little bit smaller. So our doctor is out of the picture just for right now. Now, inside is this big device that I'm just using with the 3 dominoes here. And Pellick is going to make a science roll here real quickly. 7. That's pretty good. And he says, I think it's draining energy from the planet. And Tharos says, well, perhaps together we can turn it off. Now, Tharo gets an extra action. So I'm going to say they need 3 successes before 3 failures. And Pellick's going to try to assist him. Now, rather than assist on every round, I think that's a little bit much. He's only going to be able to assist on the first. Yeah, so his repair roll, or his engineering roll, is very good. So Tharo's going to get to roll with advantage here for the first one. Oh, a failure. Let me write 2 failures there. Well, that's 1 failure. It was advantage. I don't think it's going to count as 2. No, I think it should. No, only 1. Only 1. I think that's reasonable. I have to think about that more. Okay, but he gets an extra action this round because he has 3 arms. Oh, and that succeeds. So we're at 1 failure and 1 success. Let's try it again. Can you feel the tension? All right, so he gets 2 actions this round. Oh, and let's see. They both work. So we get our 3 successes before our 3 failures, and he is able to turn off this machine. And Pellick comes back out and he explains to the commander, they were trying to drain the energy from this living planet. That was their scheme, to figure out a way, to steal this living energy from planets, either of this type or perhaps from other planets. And she calls up to the ship. She says, please be aware that there could be a Romulan ship in orbit. Feel free to leave us if you need. We're going to try to go back. We think we're able to get Dr. Sonek and his crew. So the Romulans are gone, and there's nobody accosts them. This is kind of like the scene after the commercial, or, they do the cut scenes. And they're going to be back at our circular area here, and I'm not going to fuss too much about it. And Dr. Sonek and his crew are in there. So only 3 of our crew remain, because the doctor, he's up and he's in some major hurt. So I imagine they have him in sick bay and healing. And Commander Craig, played by Yvonne Craig, by the way, who was also Batgirl. That's our actress. She says, did you detect we were able to drive off the other beings who were siphoning you? And the creature or the cell nucleus here, at least that's what Dr. Heath thought it was, replies, yes, I feel my energies returning, but it will be some time. And she says, well, you do remember our bargain to release our people. And the creature says, yes, of course. And the tendrils fall away, and Dr. Sonak and his people kind of slump to the ground. But they're able to, they're groggy, they're in bad shape, but they're able to get them outside of this circular ring. And of course, Commander Craig says, we're hoping perhaps we could send another team, to learn more about you. We're not all like the other creatures. We call them Romulans. We're not all like those other beings who are here and trying to hurt you. And let's see what he says. I think since they saved, it's going to be 4 out of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is positive for our people. 3. So the being there in the center, we have to honor the failed roll, but we have to honor the successful roll too. He says, yes, perhaps that would be a possibility. Perhaps, you could send people to communicate with me. He says, but please, no more of the other kind, and, no more draining of my power. She says, oh, of course not. We're mostly explorers and scientists, and we just want to know more. So we're able to get everybody. Now, the Meitner's in pretty bad shape here. So there may have to be a salvage crew later, but they all beam back up. And then we're going to go back to the bridge here. Everybody liked my goofy little bridge, which is really, really low tech. I don't know if you noticed, but my whole aesthetic is pretty lo-fi. When I'm doing this stuff, I'm trying to have a good time, not stress about everything being perfect or exceptional or anything like that. I just want to have a good time. So they gather back on the bridge. Here's the helm station with the 2 helm officers. Science station, our commander, our engineer over at his station. And we'll figure, eventually Dr. Heath is well enough to come back up to the bridge here, but only for a few minutes. He's definitely got to get back to sick bay. And Commander Adam Weston, played by Adam West of all people, he congratulates the team. Oh, and you did such a good job. We retrieved the Vulcan scientists. We drove off the Romulans. Yes, we did detect their ship, but they immediately cloaked and jumped to warp speed. So we were not able, and we did not pursue them. We don't want an active war here so close to the Romulan neutral zone. He said, but you're definitely all be commended. And he said, perhaps the most important part is that there'll be future Federation science contact. And Pellick even asks, he says, with permission, Captain, he said, when my science duties are here, I would like to spend more time with Dr. Sonak and his recovery. He was my mentor, and I would really value the time with talking with him and, getting acquainted with what he's been doing all these years. And the captain says, oh, yes, of course. He says, I'm sure we can get a junior science officer. Perhaps even your next shift, you can take the time in talking with him and see what he had to learn out this way. I think that would definitely count as research and definitely count for your duty time for tomorrow. So I think that's where we are. I'm going to take my paper here and move it out of the way. We're going to end with the bridge here. I'll have to get a shot of this maybe perhaps a little bit later. And I thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm going to stop the stream. And if you like these live plays, please, please, please leave me a comment. Just a real quick comment about what you liked, or even if you have some gentle suggestions, be gentle. But if you have some gentle suggestions on how things could go better with these live streams, that's fine. But please, again, just so I know if you enjoyed it or you got something out of it. And I just thank you so much. And I say, take care, and we'll see you next time.